Well, law enforcement agencies certainly do have their hands full this morning trying to remove burning tyres from several roads that are blocked around Gauteng, Ekurhuleni, Tshwane, and perhaps other areas in the rest of the country. But these are reports we're getting in right now. We've got Wayne Minnaar on the line now. He is from the police, the Metro Police at this point. Let's just get an update from you, Wayne. What is happening on the roads?
I can confirm that certain roads in Soweto, Turffontein, also Hillbrow and Joburg, the Nelson Mandela Bridge is blocked off with burning tires and rocks, so motorists should drive with extra caution this morning.
Yeah. I mean, we're hearing reports of at least a dozen of these protests in and around the busiest areas and roads here in this particular province and beyond. Is this what you are dealing with?
Yeah, that's correct. Officers on duty have been sent to all of the roads affected, and we want to caution motorists to drive with caution. And we know the Mike 1, N1 and N3 is running clear. Okay.
Why? Are there any reasons? We're hearing that this is perhaps because of the vote of no confidence, and that'll be happening in Parliament this afternoon. Is this what you're hearing as well?
Yes, there has been information received earlier this morning of the protest or the blockages being linked to the vote of no confidence protest.
Yeah, and would you have any idea if these are those that are supporting President Jacob Zuma or those that are against him?
That I cannot confirm.
All right, but just to again give our viewers and motorists some aware, what should they do during a time like this?
Look, if there is a stone throwing or a problem where there are no officers, phone the emergency call center, or otherwise try to stick to the freeways like the N1, the N3, and the Mike 1. Those freeways are running clear.
All right, we'll leave it there. Superintendent Wayne Minnaar from the Metro Police just talking to us about the blockages that are happening around the Gauteng, Tshwane, Ekurhuleni areas. Just please take it easy out there. And it seems that these protests are throwing stones. There's also burning tyres and you name it. So thanks again, Superintendent. Susan, let me talk to you about this because there was talk that there would be a shutdown. With this vote of no confidence. Is this the start of the shutdown for today? What do you think is happening? What are you reading into this?
No, I read that this could very well be part of that national shutdown. We have heard people say, yes, there will be pro-Zuma. People have come out and said on radio programs last night, there will be no national shutdown. For me, this is a sign of, we don't know whether it's national, but a very significant part of the country actually a shutdown. If those major routes are blocked, if motorists are afraid of commuting, yes, and then there are going to be many, many people around these areas who will maybe be angry, who could become involved in protests, and who will have nothing much else to do, nothing politically significant else to do today but to become involved in a protest. So I think we have to take great care that we don't focus too much on counting votes in Parliament when events on the ground could overtake the insignificance, if not in scope, what is happening in Parliament. Because if it is a wide-scale protest, then we start looking at hundreds of thousands of people, potentially, and not whether it's 5,000 or 10,000 who march in Cape Town or in KwaZulu-Natal. We've heard that there are going to be marches there. In several places, there are going to be pro and anti-marches. That we should watch out whether that could become confrontational.
Absolutely.
So it could be events that could escalate and which the ANC has not been bargaining on. The significance of that day and what I was referring to just now, the distance that has opened between an unconnected ANC, as Sipho has remarked, very focused internally and not taking a sufficient account of what is happening on the ground.
What is happening on the ground with their people. So I imagine the police are going to have their hands full today and also keeping a very close watch on these protests and marches that are happening. Because like we say, whichever way, there are to and there are against.
Yeah.
I want to know what's going to happen inside Parliament today. We're in the news. Let's find out. Now, usually this was an electronic vote before. Everybody just punched in what they wanted. This, I imagine, is going to work very differently. Do you have any clues, any ideas how this vote's going to work this afternoon?
Well, I think we are mature enough, and I think parliamentarians are mature enough. The issues of logistics have been taken care of and would have been taken care of by now. And all it requires is that there is an assurance that it's actually secret. It could be a simple way where people simply put a note and it gets into the box, and all the party whips sit there and they count with everybody supervising to make sure that there's. I don't think that is really a major concern. This is why all the parties have not actually raised that. Yeah. I do think that the system will run properly in terms of secret vote. What is important, and I don't think once they get into that, there'll be the job would have been done. If you needed to persuade somebody, people were being persuaded sometime during the night. Actually, if you listen to the EFF, they say they are not going to sleep. They were going to make sure that by this morning they have managed to persuade all those members. And some MPs were saying they even received letters in the middle of the night where they've been asked by business people, by all sorts of people to say, please make sure that you voted the right way. So the whole notion of persuading people's conscience has been happening. So I do think by the time the MPs meet, decisions would have been made, money would have flowed from whatever angle. So I do think that we should just wait and see. Yeah. But the most important is really, there is no crisis even that, if that happens. Ultimately, that our constitution had anticipated that possibility. This is why they say once there's a motion of no confidence, the speaker takes over
as the president,
as a president.
And when will she be sworn in? If it is successful, will she be sworn in straight away? Or
we do not allow a process of a vacuum. I think it will have to be done immediately. Because after the vote. After the vote, to make sure that decisions and orders can be given, because government must still function. People are still there. So there is no crisis that will happen. And then there is a decision on whether the ruling party can bring somebody else to be a caretaker president. If they can't, then the DA would be saying, well, the constitution also say within 30 days, then you may have to have elections. And this is what the DA is looking for. But all parties seem to be opposed. The EFF is very opposed to elections. The ANC is opposed to that, and all the other parties, only the DA, because it sees itself as in a better position right now.
So we don't see the deputy president stepping up as the interim president?
That would be a decision.
Could be a possibility, but it is not automatic.
It's a possibility. Yeah, it's a possibility.
It's not automatic.
No, it's definitely will be decided. I mean, one would assume that it becomes automatic, but given the nature of the conflict within the ANC, it is not a given.
Yeah. Susan, in terms of ministers, in terms of the running of government departments, does it all stay the same?
No.
Yes and no. The ministers and the deputy ministers, or as part of the executive, have to step down in case this vote is passed. But nothing prevents the exact same crowd, or if it comes to that point, hopefully not the exact same crowd, to be reappointed again. There can be an immense amount of continuity, but hopefully, if should something like that happen, there can also be renewal and improvement, and then not a hatch job, sycophantic appointment of cabinet ministers. So if there can be improvements there, but it can be the same. The ANC would have to make serious decisions there. They will retain that 62% majority in parliament. But we also know that some of the ANC MPs, they are holding off on ANC people crossing over and supporting the motion with the trump card that, should that happen, they will not agree to the deputy president coming in as a candidate, looking at that in terms of the succession battle and saying they would insist on a pro-Zuma candidate taking over. And that is in the context of the NEC. So it is a Zuma's NEC, just like the MPs were there, became MPs on the basis of a Zuma slate. And the NEC has been endorsing consistently the president. So the president may be voted out, if small maybe, voted out, but he would still retain power in the NEC. So that could be a huge predicament for the ANC, and that could be a crisis of sorts, or actually a big crisis within the ANC if they, in factional wars, cannot agree. But then come at the end of the day, if the ANC has to decide, either they agree, either they even compromise on a Zuma's candidate as caretaker president and not Cyril Ramaphosa, in favor of just being sure that opposition parties will not push them out and get to an election situation.
Yeah. All right, let's talk loyalty now, because this is now boiling down to loyalty, those that are loyal to Zuma and those aren't. I want to ask you to predict for me, because we didn't predict yesterday. Everybody thought that this was not going to be a secret ballot. We were all blown out the water when it actually turned into a secret ballot. What do you believe is going to happen today?
Well, you know, I thought it would be easy to carry if the SACP members were going to vote against the president, if they were going to be consistent with the public posture that they've taken. But I think by last night we saw a statement where the SACP is saying we are going to toe the line. So effectively that reduces the number of MPs that could have been spoken to.
Yeah.
But given that this is a secret ballot, we do not know
Anything
that. And of course, this morning the ANC will be talking about that. But the most important thing that I think that bothers the ANC more than anything are statements that go beyond the president. You see, when the opposition party says this is not about Jacob Zuma, it's also about the collapse of the ANC. The ANC alliance partners are saying we are not going to allow those people whose agenda is not consistent with our agenda to actually to dictate. Effectively, really, as I said earlier, that this is a mess within the ANC, because if the ANC does not need assistance of the opposition to get rid of its leaders.
Yeah.
But what we have done, we have reached a stage where there seems to be a contestation even around that aspect.
Okay.
So hence the attempt to enlist all forms of machinations, including going to the courts, including the secret ballots and all that. But part of it is because there is a problem.
Internal. All right. I just want one word from you. Successful or not?
Well, I now think I doubt it if they will be able to pull about 16.
Okay, not successful.
Yeah.
Susan, successful or not?
Not successful, because they just cannot muster that number.
All right,
necessary.
We leave it there with for you for now. We're going to be continuing our conversation, but there you have it. Two analysts here in studio predicting that it will not be a successful vote and that President Jacob Zuma will remain president of South Africa and, as we know, of course, of the ANC. Okay, you're still adding the mic there. Palesa, what else is happening? I know that this, of course,